Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our channel. Today, one of the most significant challenges in a relationship with a narcissist is figuring out how to take away their power without resorting to simply walking away. Let me reverse the question a bit. How exactly do narcissists overpower you in the first place? It usually happens when you get drawn into their manipulative dynamics. For instance, if they start an argument, you feel compelled to argue back. If they act stubborn, you find yourself matching their stubbornness. If they lose their temper, you meet them with your own anger. Before you know it, you've stepped right into their trap. Now, let's return to your original question. How can you avoid getting sucked into that dynamic? It starts by not playing the game they want you to engage in. Imagine, for example, that you're simply expressing an opinion, maybe about a belief you hold, and the narcissist dismissively responds with, "Why would you believe something so ridiculous?" That's their way of baiting you. It's an open invitation to jump into a heated argument. The immediate reaction might be to say something like, "You don't have to be so rude," which is understandable, but the moment you do, you've already entered their game. Instead, when a narcissist calls your opinion dumb or irrational, the more effective approach is to calmly respond, "Well, we simply think differently, don't we?" Keep your tone level and avoid reacting emotionally. By doing so, you've deflected their insult without letting it pull you into an argument. You could even follow up with something like, "Is there anything else on your mind?" Or, "If you want to try to belittle me, that's your choice. But I don't have to accept the role you're assigning me." This approach is what I like to call calm firmness. You unhook yourself from their baiting, and the narcissist won't know how to handle it. Narcissists often thrive on creating chaos because it allows them to justify controlling you. In their minds, you're unregulated, so they must take charge. But when you don't react to their provocations, you deny them that justification. So, when faced with a narcissist's argumentative behavior, your best course of action is to acknowledge that you see things differently and avoid engaging in conflict. Now, that doesn't mean you should stay silent all the time. There are moments when you can assert your point of view without falling into the narcissist's traps. For example, you could say, "What I meant to say is this. It's important to me that you understand my perspective," and then calmly explain what bothers you about their behavior. The key is to be thoughtful and deliberate in your words. There's no need to shout or call them names. This measured approach is what we call assertiveness. Being assertive means standing up for yourself and holding on to your convictions, but doing so with respect toward the other person. The goal is for both parties to walk away with their dignity intact. You want to maintain your own sense of respect while allowing the other person to do the same. Assertiveness is about communication that says, "These things matter to me," or "This is what I observe." It's an open conversation where both sides share their thoughts. However, with narcissists, this kind of mutual respect is often difficult to achieve. They can't engage in the give and take that healthy communication requires. Narcissists lack empathy, so they interpret any disagreement as a personal attack. When you express a differing opinion, they may immediately take offense, as if your differing viewpoint is an attack on their identity. They engage in what I call boomerang communication, where they take what you say and throw it right back at you, often with a twist. They may accuse you of thinking you're superior or try to diminish your point of view, turning the conversation into a seesaw battle of dominance. In their world, if you disagree with them, then you must be wrong. When dealing with a narcissist, it's common to wonder whether they can ever truly change. Many people outright say, "No, a narcissist will never change." And as a result, they advocate for cutting ties immediately and moving on. While that approach can be necessary in extreme cases, it's important not to adopt a rigid all-or-nothing mentality. The unfortunate truth is that meaningful change is rare, and the narcissist must have a strong willingness to confront their behavior. This is a complex issue that varies greatly from person to person. Let me share a story from my own experience. I once worked with a man about 30 years ago who was one of the most emotionally insensitive individuals I had ever encountered. When he came to my office, he brought his wife along, and despite the presence of his spouse, he unabashedly declared, "She's not good enough for me. I don't know why I ever married her. She's a loser." His callousness was shocking. To make matters worse, he had a girlfriend on the side, which he mentioned with no remorse. After completely degrading his wife, he left the session, leaving her in tears. She was devastated and crushed. A year later, that same man called me and said, "Do you remember me?" Of course, I did. He told me he needed to talk again, so we set up another session. This time, he came in with a completely different demeanor. He admitted, "I've been a complete jerk." He didn't phrase it as politely, but the sentiment was there. He had realized in retrospect how awful his behavior had been and how much damage he had caused. He confessed to losing many valuable relationships, including his marriage, and said, "Something has to change, and it has to start with me." Now, when I hear that kind of statement, I'm cautious at first. It's easy for someone who has hit rock bottom to act remorseful because they've lost everything, and their motivation might be more about self-preservation than true self-improvement. However, over time, this man showed a consistent commitment to change. That said, cases like his are exceptions rather than the rule. More often, when I work with individuals who have been deeply hurt by narcissists, the focus is on helping the victim rebuild themselves after the narcissist has flattened them emotionally. This is where the concept of surviving narcissism comes into play. It's not just about escaping the relationship, it's about recovering from the trauma and learning how to thrive again. So, when someone asks how to survive a narcissistic relationship after the heartbreak and devastation, my answer is that crises, as painful as they are, can also create opportunities for growth if you allow it. Think of it like physical pain. If you have a deep cut in your leg, the pain is your body's way of signaling that something is wrong and needs attention. You treat the wound, clean it, and take the necessary steps for healing. Emotional pain works the same way. If your heart or your dreams have been shattered, the pain you feel is your psyche's way of asking for care and attention. It's a signal that something inside you needs healing. The first step in this healing process is to remind yourself that even though you've been hurt, even though you've been treated terribly, you can figure out a way forward. It might not be easy, and there may be serious life changes that come as a result, but you have to trust that healing is possible. There are two key areas of insight you need to focus on as you work through your recovery. The first area involves understanding where the narcissist was coming from. You need to recognize the patterns in their behavior, their history, and their motivations. Narcissists often project their own flaws and insecurities onto others, so you need to gain clarity about the fact that their treatment of you wasn't a reflection of your worth, but rather a reflection of their internal struggles. This understanding isn't about excusing their behavior, but about developing objectivity. When you can step back and see their actions for what they really are, displaced emotions and unresolved issues, it helps you stop internalizing the blame that narcissists so often try to shift onto you. The second area of insight involves looking inward and understanding what was going on inside of you during the relationship. Ask yourself, what made me vulnerable to this person? Was I a people pleaser? Did I have a hero complex where I thought I could fix them? Did I match their anger with my own? Becoming too emotionally reactive. This type of self-examination is crucial because it empowers you to identify and address any patterns that might make you susceptible to toxic relationships in the future. In therapy, This is the type of deep work that can lead to real progress. It's about understanding the narcissist's behavior while also taking a hard look at yourself and learning how to strengthen your emotional boundaries. If the narcissist in your life decides to engage in this process with you and genuinely wants to change, that's an ideal outcome. It can happen in individual therapy, couples therapy, or even in support groups. However, the sad reality is that many narcissists aren't willing to go down that path, leaving the healing work to the person they've hurt. When it comes to surviving a narcissistic relationship, especially after leaving it and dealing with the emotional fallout, one of the crucial things to understand is that crises, while incredibly painful, have the potential to foster significant personal growth if you approach them with the right mindset. Consider a simple analogy. If you experience physical pain, such as a deep cut or a serious injury, your body sends you signals to alert you that something needs attention. You tend to the wound, apply medical care, and take steps to ensure proper healing. Emotional wounds work similarly. If your heart, dreams, or lifestyle have been deeply hurt or torn apart, the pain you feel is your psyche's way of signaling that it needs care and healing. The first step in managing this emotional pain is to recognize that despite the hurt and mistreatment you've endured, you can find a way forward. It's essential to believe in your ability to recover, even if the path isn't straightforward or easy. Adjustments to your lifestyle and personal habits may be necessary, but maintaining faith in the healing process is vital. In navigating this healing journey, there are two primary areas where personal insight is necessary. First, you need to understand the narcissist's background and behavior patterns. This involves recognizing the deep-seated issues and influences that shaped their actions toward you. Knowing that their treatment of you reflects their own unresolved issues rather than your worth can be liberating. This understanding helps you detach from the false sense of responsibility that narcissists often impose on their victims. Second, introspection is crucial. You need to explore your own vulnerabilities and recognize what might have made you susceptible to a narcissistic relationship in the first place. Were you a people pleaser, driven by a need to make others happy at your own expense? Did you have a tendency to take on a savior role, hoping to fix or change the narcissist? Did you react emotionally to their provocations, perhaps becoming unregulated in your responses? Understanding these aspects of yourself is key to breaking the cycle of being drawn to toxic relationships. Therapy can be incredibly beneficial in this regard. It provides a space to delve into these issues, to understand both the narcissist's impact on you and your own role in the relationship dynamics. Progress in therapy often involves a dual focus: gaining insight into the narcissist's behavior and examining your own responses and vulnerabilities. While it's possible for a narcissist to change, it's not common. They may show some willingness to engage in therapy or self-reflection, but many are not ready or able to make significant changes. In some cases, the narcissist might express a desire to join you in the healing process, seeking therapy themselves, or participating in support groups. While this can be a hopeful sign, it's not always guaranteed. For most, the real work lies in the hands of the person who has been hurt. They must engage in deep self-examination and seek personal growth from the experience. One important concept related to narcissism is gaslighting. This term comes from a 1940s movie where a man manipulates a woman into doubting her own perceptions by altering the lighting in their home. In a narcissistic relationship, gaslighting involves the narcissist creating confusion and making you question your own reality. For example, if a narcissist treats someone harshly and that behavior is pointed out, the narcissist might deny it, saying, "That's not what happened," or claim that others who support your view are lying. This tactic is designed to make you doubt your own memory and perception. Gaslighting can manifest in various ways, such as denying past statements, rewriting history, or dismissing your feelings as irrational. The goal is to destabilize you emotionally and maintain control. If you're being gaslit, it's important to stick to your own recollections and perceptions. When confronted with denial or revisionist history from the narcissist, affirm your own understanding of events without getting pulled into a debate. The narcissist's aim is to create confusion and assert dominance, but by maintaining confidence in your own perspective, you resist their attempts to undermine you. Narcissists typically struggle with confident, self-aware individuals because they can't easily manipulate or control them. If you respond to gaslighting with a firm sense of self and an unwillingness to engage in their manipulative tactics, you minimize their power over you. The more you assert your own reality and remain steadfast in your perceptions, the less effective their gaslighting will be. Ultimately, surviving a narcissistic relationship involves reclaiming your own sense of self and understanding the dynamics at play. By developing insight into both the narcissist's behavior and your own vulnerabilities, you can begin to heal and move forward with greater resilience and clarity. While the journey is challenging, it is also an opportunity for profound personal growth and self-discovery.